TxStampin Sharon, and guess what? It's fall, y'all. I am going to be making another fall card using Falling for Leaves. I went to New England, checked off a bucket list item, and got to see the gorgeous fall foliage. I love my card, but it's nowhere near as pretty as what I saw. If you have a crafty friend that could be helped by any of the tips that I share on this video, I'd be so honored if you would share this video with them. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you can do so below. Let's make this card. These are the two cards that I'm going to be talking about today. There is a difference on how I did the embossing using the Stampin Up embossing mats. So I'll be going over the differences between the two. As you can see, I pulled in some copper, and I tried so hard to do the reds and the yellows to mimic the beautiful fall foliage that I saw in New England on my trip. So the difference using the embossing mats from Stampin Up. This one is the blue thin one that comes with it, and if you want a subtle embossed look, then that is the mat that you would use. If you want a thicker embossed image using your framelits, then you would use the thicker gray mat. So thicker gray mat, thicker embossing, deeper embossing. I'm using the Falling for Leaves bundle. Has lots of fun leaves in there, and the framelits. Love, love, love the framelits. I'm gonna pull in my Big Shot. And the sandwiching is the Big Shot platform, the white plate that comes with the embossing mats. I have numbered mine. When I first got these mats, I was trying to figure out how to use them. And I went ahead and used a Sharpie to number mine. So I did it according to the instructions. I'm going to have a link below for you to download a larger printed version of the embossing mat instructions because they're tiny. They're hard to read. And when I was, like I said, when I was trying to figure out how to use this, I was like, oh, I gotta blow this up. I can't read it. I prefer to do what's called a reverse sandwiching when it comes to using the embossing mats because I like to be able to see what I'm doing. As long as I have a piece of cardstock between the framelit and the embossing mat, I am not going to cut that mat. The first time I did it, I was scared to death. I just knew that I was going to cut that mat, and then what was I going to do? But I have done this lots and lots of times. I made a video back in June. I'll also have that linked here on the video so that you can go back and look at it, because I explain more on there than what I'm doing here. Now, as you can see, I have added the outline of the leaf because I want to create the card like one of the cards that I made. I'm not going to be doing both on the video, but I'm going to show you the difference. This is pretty tight, but it works. And I just love how deep it does it. Let me bring in my cards again. On this one, oh, I don't know if y'all can see that. You can tell that it's just the leaf. And on this one, I used the outline frame because I felt like it gave it more detail. There is a way to cut out the leaf. First thing you want to do is cut out the leaf, leave it in the framelit, leave it in the outline framelit, then place this one over it Well, that's hard to do. Let me put it back down. And then you can get an embossed leaf that is cut out. Pretty fun, huh? So there's several things that you can do with the embossing mats. I have my cherry cobbler card base. I have my leaf on my layer. And I have cut out one of the copper leaves. And I've also cut out another one. I wanted you to see the little bitty pieces, and I prefer to leave them in. I like that look better. So basically, I'm going to take my paper piercer and just go along the outside holes to have the leaf release from the framelit. When I pull this apart, if I've lost any of my inside pieces, I'll just have to go ahead and remove them all, which I did. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove them all. I'm going to share with you the difference. On this one, I left them because none of them came out. And then on this one, some of them came out. So my card's going to look more like this one. I just left them in, and I will tell you a trick. When I left them in, I added some snail to the back, and then I just stuck the leaf down, and they stayed. I just liked it better, and it was easier. We're all about easy, right? I have a piece of Whisper White thick cardstock that I'm going to be used for stamping my leaf. Because I'm using Stampin Blends, I am using the Memento ink pad. And the Whisper White thick will allow the bleeding that's going to happen with the Stampin Blends, but not allow any bleeding on my work surface. I'm using Daffodil Delight and the Cherry Cobbler to color my leaf. Next, I'm going to bring in the darker of the Cherry Cobbler, and I'm going to do an outline. I know on the camera that this doesn't show up as much or as different, but I can tell in person that it is two different colors. Different shading of the Cherry Cobbler. I'm going to bring back in the ladder, and I'm just going to blend that into the ladder, blend the darker into the ladder. I like to use the nubbier end for this part. You can purchase the Stampin Blends just one for $4.50, or you can get both for $9. So really no break in price. But to me, the whole purpose of having the Stampin' Blends is to blend the colors, and that's what it's all about. That's what's so fun. I'm outlining the middle flower just because I want it to really pop. And I'm coloring the little scallops, and I'm going inside of the leaf. I learned so much about fall foliage when I was up in New England. The leaves start turning yellow, and then once they're red, they start falling off the tree. So there's just a short window of time that you can even go and see them. I hope that if any of you have that dream like I did, that you will do it, because it was absolutely gorgeous. And we're going to do a little more blending. It's really super easy, guys. If you have not purchased the Stampin' Blends, I sure hope you do, because they're so much fun. No streak marks, no lines or anything like that. Oops, speaking of, I see I missed some spots. Okay, now I'm going to cut this out. When I cut it out, can you see the white edges? I didn't like that. So I'm going to get my darker cherry cobbler, and I'm going to color it. Because the white really stood out against my crushed curry layer. And I didn't see any white on leaves when I was in New England. Do the same thing with the Daffodil Delight. There. I'm going to be stamping my sentiment using Versamark ink and some copper embossing. So we want our embossing buddy. I have a tip. See my nail? See how wide it is? Let me show you. See these? You're supposed to use them like to clean your house. Guess what? They work to get the embossing buddy off really well. This strip is about 3/4 of an inch wide, and I left it kind of long so that I have something to hang on to when I'm embossing with it. I want to bring my card back because I want you to see how I used the very vanilla paper and my ribbon to form the banner tail. Just something different. You know, we all have little tricks and stuff that we like to use. And whenever I cut the, I know this is hard to see, whenever I cut the ribbon off the bolt, I always do it at an angle, so I already have part of my banner tail going. So I'm just going to line this up. Actually, I'm bringing it a little bit more. That looks pretty straight. I'm going to bring in my scissors. And there you go. Now I want to cut off the excess. I'm going to adhere these two together, even though I'm going to add it to the card with dimensionals. If you've watched any of my videos, the trick that I have is to kind of bend those dimensionals when I add them to my project so that the backing comes off so much easier. Let's put our card together. See how the Stampin' Blends do on the back, but it didn't get on my work surface, so it's all good. I will be adding some snail to the back of my leaf, even though I'm going to put this on with dimensionals. It just helps me be able to add my leaves. Nope, we want this one first. To the back. And I'm just kind of hovering over my cards so that I'm not coming off the card with my leaves. Okay, I like that. We're going to add some dimensionals. Let's see, I think I want my leaves to go that way. We're going to add our banner. A little long. I'm going to go ahead and try to cut this off. I have to move that dimensional. Now for the bow, I didn't have any ribbon that was crushed curry, so I made my own. It's really funny, the darker Daffodil Delight comes very close to crushed curry. I'm simply going to color my ribbon. Because it's an alcohol based, it does dry fairly quickly. However, if I was you making this card at home, I would color my ribbon first, because I found when I started picking it up and tying it into a bow, I had a little bit of yellow on my fingers. Not bad, but you know, after you've colored it, it's kind of stiff. So just kind of work it with your fingers and it gets the stiffness out. I guess it's the alcohol that does that to the ribbon. I'm not sure. But I already have my bow done. And we're going to add it to our card with a glue dot. And there you have it. 2 different ways to do it. Some tips using the embossing mats and the Stampin Blends. I hope you guys make this card. What'd you think? Pretty fun. Nowhere near as gorgeous as the leaves were in New England, but I had fun doing it, and that was my inspiration. If you would like to see some of my photos from New England, you can see them on my blog. But I do hope that you will enjoy making your cards, and if I can ever help you in any way, please don't hesitate to let me know. Happy stamping, y'all!